Welcome to English with Cheri. I'm your host, Cheri, and this is the podcast where we make English feel less scary and a lot more real. Whether you're a total beginner or somewhere around A1 to A2 level, you are in exactly the right place. Every episode, we take a real-life situation and we teach you the English you actually need for it. And today we have a really good one.
Yeah, today's topic is okay, so maybe not something you want to happen to you, right? But it could happen, and if it does, you want to be ready. We're talking about getting pulled over by the police. Like you're driving, and suddenly there are flashing lights behind you, and you're thinking, what do I do? What do I say?
Exactly. And I know, just hearing the words police and pulled over can feel kind of stressful, even in your first language, right? So imagine going through that in English. That's a lot. But that's why we're here. By the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly what to say, what words to use, and how to stay calm. So let's get into it.
Yes. Okay. So, Sherry, let's start with the very first thing. Like, what does pull over even mean? Because I feel like that's already a phrase that could confuse someone.
Right, so great point. Pull over is a phrasal verb, and it means to move your car to the side of the road and stop. So if a police officer wants you to stop, they will follow you with their lights flashing, sometimes with a siren too, and that means you need to pull over. You move to the right side of the road, you slow down, and you stop. That's it. That's what pull over means.
Right, right. And it's important to do it calmly, Like, don't panic, don't drive fast, just slowly move to the right and stop. That's honestly the most important first step.
Exactly. Stay calm, pull over slowly and safely, and then you wait. You stay in the car, you don't get out of the car unless the officer asks you to. This is actually really important, especially in the United States. You stay inside, you keep your hands where the officer can see them, and you wait for them to come to your window.
That's such a good tip. Okay, so now let's talk vocabulary, because I think this is like the heart of today's lesson, right? If you know these words, you're going to feel so much more confident. Jerry, do you want to walk us through the key words?
Yes, absolutely. So let's go through them one by one, nice and slow. First word, officer. An officer is the police person. You can call them officer. It's polite and respectful, like, good morning, officer. Simple, right?
Good one. Okay, next word, license. Your license is your driver's license. It's the card that says you are allowed to drive. In English, the officer might say, "May I see your license?" And that means, "Show me your driver's ID card." So your license is your driving permission card, kind of.
Right, your license. Got it. What's the next one?
Sure. Okay, so registration. This one is a little tricky for beginners, I think. Your registration is a document, a paper or card that proves the car is yours. Or, well, it proves the car is legally registered, like the government knows about this car. You usually keep it in your glove box. That's the small compartment in front of the passenger seat.
And the next one is just as important, insurance. Your insurance is, well, it's kind of like a safety net for your car. If you have an accident, insurance helps pay for the damage, and in most places, you are required by law to have it. The officer might ask for your proof of insurance, which is just the document showing you have insurance.
Right, exactly. So, license, registration, insurance. Those are the three things the officer will almost always ask for. Actually, there's kind of a joke in America. People say those three words together like a little phrase: license, registration, and proof of insurance. It's sort of expected. So, if you hear those three words, you know exactly what they want.
That's actually so helpful. Once you know the pattern, you're not guessing anymore. Okay, so what about speed limit? I think that's a big one for this topic.
Sure, yes. The speed limit is the maximum, the fastest speed you're allowed to drive on a road. You see it on signs like 35 miles per hour or 65 miles per hour. And if you drive faster than that number, well, that's when you might get pulled over. So, speed limit is basically the rule for how fast you can go.
Right. And if you go over that limit, that's where things can get a little stressful.
Yeah, and breaking the speed limit, going too fast, that's what leads to the next word, which is ticket. Or sometimes people say speeding ticket specifically.
Yes, so a ticket in this context is not like a movie ticket. It's a fine, it's a penalty. The officer gives you a piece of paper, the ticket, and it says you broke a law, and now you have to pay money. That money is called a fine, so you get a ticket, and the ticket tells you how much your fine is.
Right, and there's one more word worth mentioning: warning. A warning is actually the good outcome. If the officer gives you a warning instead of a ticket, that means they're saying, hey, you did something wrong, but I'm not going to charge you money this time. Just be more careful. So a warning is like a second chance.
Yes, that's the goal. And honestly, being polite and calm really does help your chances of getting a warning instead of a ticket. So, let's talk about what the officer actually says and how you should respond, because this is where English learners often feel the most nervous, I think.
Yeah, totally. Like, what if you don't understand what they're saying? That can feel really overwhelming.
Right. So, first, the most common thing the officer will say when they come to your window is something like, "Good morning, do you know why I pulled you over today?" Or they might say, "Do you know how fast you are going?" So, those are really common opening questions. And it's okay if you're not sure. You can say, "I'm not sure," or "I think I may have been going a little fast. I'm sorry."
For sure. And here's another really useful phrase if you don't understand something. You can say, I'm sorry, could you please repeat that? Or even, I'm sorry, my English is not very strong. Could you speak slowly, please? Most officers will understand. They deal with all kinds of people. It's okay to ask for help understanding.
Exactly. Okay, so I think it's time for our role play section. This is honestly my favorite part of the episode. Nick, are you ready to be a police officer?
Oh, I was born ready. I'm going full officer mode. Okay, listeners, this is where it gets really practical. We're going to act out a real traffic stop situation. Jerry's going to be the driver, I'm going to be the police officer, and we want you to listen carefully and maybe even practice saying the driver's lines out loud. Ready? Let's go.
Okay, so imagine I'm driving, I see lights behind me, I pull over to the right and stop. I turn off my music, I put my hands on the steering wheel, and I wait. Then the officer comes to my window.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Do you know why I pulled you over today?
Good afternoon, officer. I'm not sure. I think maybe I was going a little fast. I'm sorry about that.
Yes, ma'am. The speed limit on this road is 35 miles per hour and you are going 52. Can I see your license, registration, and proof of insurance, please?
Of course, officer. Just one moment, please. Here is my license and my registration, and I have my insurance on my phone. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. I'll be right back.
Okay. So a moment passes, and the officer comes back to the window.
Ma'am, I'm going to give you a warning today. Please watch your speed on this road. Drive safely.
Thank you so much, officer. I will be more careful. Have a good day.
Okay. And scene. I'm stepping out of officer mode now. But did you catch all of that? That is honestly a really realistic version of how a traffic stop goes, and Cheri handled it so well.
And notice what I did there, right? I was polite from the very beginning. I said, "Good afternoon, officer." I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "Of course," when he asked for my documents. And at the end, I said, "Thank you," and "Have a good day." Those small phrases, they really matter.
Right, and I also want to point out Cheri said, just one moment please, before she got her documents. That's important because you don't want to make sudden movements without telling the officer first. Like, if you need to reach into your glove box, say something. Say, my registration is in the glove box. Is it okay if I get it? Just communicate.
Such a good point. Okay, so let's talk about some general tips for staying calm and respectful during a traffic stop. Because I know that even if you know all the vocabulary, the situation can still feel stressful. So, tip number 1, take a breath. Just breathe. You're going to be okay. Getting pulled over is not the end of the world. It happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, totally. And tip number 2, be honest. Don't lie to the officer. If you were speeding, you were speeding. You can say, I think I may have been going a little fast. I'm sorry. Honesty and a calm attitude go a really long way.
Exactly. And tip number 3, do not argue. Even if you think you weren't speeding, or even if you think it's unfair, the side of the road is not the place to debate it. You can sort it out later if you need to, but in the moment, stay respectful, stay calm.
Yes, and tip number 4, keep your documents organized. Like, before you even need them, know where your license is, know where your registration is. Because if you're panicking and searching everywhere while the officer is watching, that's kind of stressful for everyone.
Okay, so let's do our quick vocabulary recap before we wrap up. This is sort of like a mini review, so the words really stick. I'll say the word, and Nick will give a super quick definition. Ready?
Let's do it.
Pull over.
Move your car to the side of the road and stop.
Officer.
A police officer, a respectful way to address them.
License.
Your driver's license, the card that shows you're allowed to drive.
Registration.
The document that proves your car is legally registered.
Insurance.
Protection for your car in case of an accident. You need proof of it.
Speed limit.
The maximum speed you're allowed to drive on a road.
Ticket.
A penalty document from the police. You have to pay money, a fine.
Fine.
The amount of money you pay as a penalty.
And finally, warning.
The good outcome. The officer tells you to be careful but does not give you a fine. A second chance.
Perfect. You nailed every single one. And listeners, if you want to practice, try saying those words out loud right now. Seriously, pause the podcast, say them, write them down, use them in a sentence. The more you practice, the more natural they'll feel.
Yes, and here are a few key phrases to remember as well. If the officer asks a question and you need more time, you can say, I'm sorry, could you repeat that please? Or if you're nervous about your English, you can say, excuse me, officer, my English is not perfect. Could you speak slowly, please? Those 2 phrases are like your safety net.
I love that framing, your safety net. And also, always say please and thank you, always. Those 2 words, I think, are maybe the most powerful words in the English language when you're in a stressful situation. They show respect, they show kindness, and they really do make a difference.
And I just want to say to everyone listening, learning English is brave. Every word you learn, every time you practice out loud, that's real progress. So be proud of yourself.
Okay, so before we go, we have a little challenge for you this week. We want you to practice the role play from today's episode. You can do it alone, be both the officer and the driver, or practice with a friend. Try saying the phrases out loud. Use the vocabulary. Make it feel real.
And if you're enjoying English with Cheri, please subscribe. Share it with a friend who's learning English. Leave us a review if you can. It helps so much. It helps more people find us, and it means a lot to both of us, honestly.
I love that. Okay, I think that's a wrap for today's episode of English with Cheri. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Keep practicing, keep going, and remember, every word you learn is one step closer to the English speaker you want to be. You've got this.
See you next time, everyone. Drive safe out there, and maybe check your speed.
Bye, everyone.